With me here today is an old friend, David. Um,
Yo.
yo, we haven't talked in a while, since 2 years ago, I'd say sophomore year.
Yeah, around there.
Um, Maybe bits and pieces here and there, but nothing crazy. Um, you had asked, you reached out to me, I'm pretty sure, about coming on this one, right? Or did I reach out to you?
No, yeah, I did comment on one video, right?
Yeah.
But it was as a joke, right?
Uh huh.
I didn't intend it for this to actually happen, so it's kind of surprising when you finally reached out on to me, and I was like, "Wait, is this really gonna happen?"
Yeah. Um, it was took a while to get here. It's been a couple weeks of scheduling conflicts and pushing back and forth, but now that we're here, we're gonna get it running and get it started. One question I have for you is: did you watch the one podcast about my religious beliefs and I believe it was Zach's religious beliefs at all?
I did begin it, right? I got
Hmm.
through like the halfway point. I did not finish it, right? I watched it in the night.
Yeah,
I was falling asleep, so
I
I
get you.
remember bits and pieces. Um, so I didn't get through all the way of it. But I mean, if you mind giving me like a background or an overview.
Yeah, I was just interested on kind of how you viewed it,
Hmm.
because you yourself are religious, and I've seen you go with that religious journey. You started posting about it a while back,
Yeah.
so I've kind of seen your growth with it, and you've definitely delved more into your faith recently. So I kind of wanted to get your point of view on it. But first, before we get into that, let's talk about kind of your journey with faith. Where did that kind of start, and where are you at with it now?
So originally I was born into a pretty conservative Christian family, right?
Mm.
So my grandma is Christian since birth, since the day I was born, right? She religiously goes, right? Never misses a Sunday. And then my mother was eventually, but then we went into sort of like we drifted away from it, right, as a family. So we didn't end up going and we didn't go to church, right? Then sophomore year came around and we started going to church every now and then, right? And then it started picking up a little more, right? And then I think I was like something happened, right? I don't know whether it be right spiritually or something just clicked, right? I felt like I belonged there, right? At church, right? On Sundays. And I started growing my faith, right? And slowly I started becoming more involved in the church, right? Then now I am less involved, right? Like currently, but I do want to pick back up at it, right?
Mhm.
Just a few things in the way. But yeah, I pretty much grew up Christian, right? On holidays with family reunions, we'd pray right before eating, right? The simple nature of that, but I was never like Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, I would
Mhm.
never say that openly until about, yeah, I'd say around like 15, 14. I started pursuing my faith more.
Mhm.
And now, yeah, I've kind of drifted a little way apart from it, right? The videos I had uploaded, I did take down,
Mhm.
mainly due to I feel like I'm not in the right position to be uploading, right? I
Okay.
do take my faith seriously, right? So I don't want to be uploading and advising people to take a certain path and pursue Christianity if I'm not doing so myself at 100% capacity.
Yeah, of course. That's really Do you think you'd be Christian if your family wasn't Christian? Do you think it would've you found you still?
I'm a firm believer that yes, I would have. Say I was born into agnostic or something else, right?
Mhm.
Yes, that comes into play, right? Your family knowing that you're Christian and you're right, your family plays a big role into who you are, your upbringing, and everything else. But I think that a main factor in why I'm Christian, yes, is my grandmother, right? My mother. They both push me very hard now, and I think that that comes from a place of love, right?
Mhm.
Deep love that they have for me, right? So if I were not born into a family, say I grew up, right? Like I said, agnostic or atheist.
Mhm.
I think eventually everyone does in school, right? People ask you, "Hey, are you Christian?" Right? It's not an everyday topic, but it comes up every now and then. So
Yeah.
you're always aware of others being Christian, Muslim, or right. So I
Mhm.
think I may have uh gone down a path of uh religious beliefs, right?
Mhm.
But I think that everyone does believe, most people do believe that there is a higher power, right? When people go into dating, a lot of things that they talk about is, do you believe is that there is a higher power, right? That's the
Mhm.
number one thing, right? And I cannot name a statistic, right? But most people have heard of the Bible. So I
Mhm.
think that I would have eventually found and come down to that path.
Mhm. Yeah, the Bible is the most sold
Purchased
book,
book in the
yeah,
world, yeah.
world, yeah.
Billions and billions.
I mean, yeah, you think about it, think about the generations of family that
Mhm.
has probably touched the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone has seen a Bible. I think everyone in the world has seen a Bible, or at least heard of it, um, for generations, which is something very interesting too, because if you look at a lot of the early books, we
Mhm.
actually sort of see that like before there was a common canon, there's actually a lot of books that people read as truth. I don't know if you ever heard of the Gnostic Gospels.
No.
It
What is
it
that?
it was found over in Egypt in the Nag Hammadi library. It
Okay.
was, the old, um, burial site or whatever that someone dug up, and in it, they found, I think it was, like, over 13 books with over,
Mhm.
like, a bunch of different stuff in it, and in it, we get books like the Gospel of Thomas and the,
Mhm.
like, Gospel of Mary Magdalene, stuff like that,
Yeah, yeah, I've
which I find, very interesting because it was part of the Christian tradition, but we didn't know about it up until the 1940s or early 1900s. I think something like that, or the 1900s. So it was crazy that there was this whole other secular part of Christianity
Mhm.
that people like probably died for even still. Um, and then eventually we get uh
The 66 books in the current Bible.
yeah, with the Protestant Revolution or whatever it was with Martin, not Martin Luther. I think it might have been Martin Luther.
It was Martin Luther,
Yeah.
yes.
Um and he kind of started that whole wave of everything.
Yeah, so Martin Luther was the main one who pushed the Bibles to everyone to have access to it, because back
Mhm.
then, right, no one had access to the Bible free openly as we all do nowadays, right? We could go buy
Mhm.
a Bible. Back then, there is a verse in the Bible. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it says, right, in Spanish, "Mi pueblo perece por falta de conocimiento," right? My people fail due to failure of knowledge, right?
Mhm.
So they didn't know the Bible. They only knew the sermons that the apostles would be given to
Yeah.
them, right? Their information was limited in the way that their only way to learn the Bible at that time, right? Because they didn't have a physical copy to read, it didn't exist. They had the Old Testament, right? Which is also the Jewish Torah. But they would learn from others teaching them, right? Back then in the old days, they were called, in Spanish, they were called Pharisees. They
Mhm.
were called apostles,
Mhm.
preachers, right? Today we have street preachers,
Mhm.
pastors, right? So yeah, we have evolved. And yeah, the way we came about those 66 books in the Bible, there was a meeting, a council, right? In
There's a
the
whole process, yeah.
Yeah, and they came apart, and there was actually, I don't remember the exact number of people that took part in this, right? But there were many high-ranking officials in the church, right? And they were all put separately in cubicles, in their own cubicles, right? And
Mhm.
out of all the books, right? All the gospels that there are, right? That were written, right? Even the book of Enoch, right? Even,
Mhm.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you've heard of that, right? It
Yeah.
talks about angels, demonic stuff, and how
All that,
to
yeah, yeah.
sorcerer. Even I don't know if you know of Solomon in the Bible. He was
Mhm.
very wise, and he decoded demonic books and turned into wrote them down, right? I personally have not read any of it. I've just know of their existence, right?
Yeah.
So these people, right, the high ranking officials, they were put into separate cubicles. And out of the many books, every single one of them down the line, right, chose these same 66 books to put in the exact Bible.
Mhm.
So out of hundreds of people, that I don't remember the exact number, right? I wish I could give it to you.
Mhm.
Out of hundreds of people, they all picked the same exact 66 books. I believe that only the Holy Spirit could have done it. You
Mhm.
know, even if someone picked a different book, you would say, yeah, human error, right?
Mhm.
Or preference, right? But
Yeah.
for everyone to pick the same exact books, I think it's something the Holy Spirit could only do in God's work, right?
Mhm. That would definitely be something I would have to, of course, look into
Yeah.
because um, it is. Oh my god, my mind just blank. It's really crazy how we get a lot of these influences of power and everything. One thing I do want to kind of touch over is the fact that you said you read the Bible in Spanish, or you remember the verse in Spanish.
Hmm.
And I think one really interesting part is also looking at translations.
Yeah.
Because we know that in the Old Testament, we don't really get anything about hell like we do in the New Testament. What we really get is the word, I believe it was Sheol,
Hmm.
in the Hebrew sense of it, which which wasn't really hell. It was just kind of this place of
Abyss. It was
abyss.
translated to, yeah.
Yeah, but then we kind of see because we know that the New Testament it was written in Greek, the first ones that we have, um, and it's the question of whether I'm pretty sure the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John they're not even the ones who wrote it. It was generations afterwards because they thought Jesus was coming pretty soon.
Hmm.
So they prolonged that process. Um, but then kind of looking at like the influences of everything, especially like Greek life, it makes me question like how much when writing it were they also influenced by their environment? Because it's still humans writing it, you know.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, even though guided by the human spirit, no human is perfect. Um, and we know that in Greek life, there was a lot of mythology, specifically about Hades and the underworld.
Hmm.
We see that be very predominant within the culture of Greek. So that it kind of comes into question like, if we're seeing it later down the line, why didn't God talk about it before? But now that um, these new books are being written, we see it um, in the same environment where we see a similar thing.
Hmm. So to answer your question, just to clarify,
Mhm.
you're asking why there wasn't that much mentioning of hell in the Old Testament versus the New Testament?
Yeah, kinda what are your thoughts on that, like, progression of, um, the understanding of afterlife?
So in the Old Testament, there wasn't really, I don't want to butcher this, right, or mess this up.
I'm
Um
rusty too, don't worry.
so in the Old Testament, there was less grace than there is now, right?
Mhm,
So back then there was grace in the understanding of, there wasn't, Jesus existed in the Old Testament, just that he hadn't died for their sins yet, right? So God
mhm.
is a just God, right? So if they couldn't be, how do I say this? Well, I'm drifting away from the question, right? Yeah.
You got it.
So in the New Testament, when Jesus came, he spoke about hell way more than he spoke about heaven, right? In the New Testament.
Mhm,
In the Old Testament, there wasn't um a hell, right? Because there was no need for one yet. Do you know what I'm saying? But there was, in a sense, there was, because of, I forgot the word how you said.
Sheol?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it was mainly, it was described as an abyss, right? I can't bring up certain verses off the top of my
Yeah,
head
no, you're good.
um to reference back to that, but in the New Testament, the apostles and the gospels talk about hell as a place of banishment, right?
Mhm,
But in a sense, in the simplest form, hell is separation and exile away from God
mhm,
due to one's choice of lifestyle, right? when the gospel is presented to someone, the gospel is usually, depending on the person that presents it to you, they can try to scare you into heaven, right? They can say,
Mhm,
Julian, go to church, live a holy lifestyle, and give every single part of your being in your life to Jesus Christ, right?
mhm,
Otherwise, you're going to hell.
mhm.
That's kind of scaring you, giving you no decision, no choice, right?
Yeah.
And it's not to say that their heaven is the right choice, right? In my belief, in my understanding, from what I've read in the Bible, the Gospels, right? I haven't read the Bible back to back,
Yeah.
but in my life experiences, I believe that Jesus is the life, the truth, and the path, right? He says, I am the only one, right? I am the only path in the Bible. And if you look at other religions, right? The Quran corrects itself with the Bible. The Torah is the Old Testament of the Bible plus
Mhm,
the New Testament of the current Bible. And then Buddhist and Hinduism, I can't remember because I don't have that much prior knowledge to them, right? But I feel that I believe that in Buddhist, the guy Buddha said,
mhm,
I have not found the meaning or purpose of life. Something related to that. Don't quote me on it, right?
mhm,
I'll have to look back into it, get back to you at that. But he said, I have not found the meaning of life or the purpose of life or something. Keep looking, keep searching. Something around those words, right? And the only one true world religion, right? I say true, right? I don't want to force anything upon anyone, right? Um, but I say read the Bible. If you've read the Bible before, take what you have read, but don't put your own perspective. Don't spin your own desires and try to mess with the things of the Bible, right?
mhm,
Take it as it is, and if you don't understand it, right, come back to it later.
mhm.
And yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we get 3 of the world's major religions. You
Mhm.
have Christianity, you have Islam, then you have, Judaism, and all 3 are stemming from the same thing, the
Mhm.
Abrahamic religions,
Yep.
which is something that's really interesting. You're having at least over, I wanna say, probably half the population that's believing in this religion. So it begs the question, is it a falsehood, um, to believe or to not believe? Because either way, you might be in the minority for actually not believing. Um, and then it comes a question of which one's right. And I think a lot of people at that point, it's I forgot which who created it, but it's like, what do you gain from believing in God? What do you lose? It's a gambler's thing.
Yeah.
Like you gain if you believe, you lose if you don't believe. So it's
Mhm.
better to just believe.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of is damaging in its own way because it loses the value of why you are truly believing. And then you get the people who are only believing because they're scared of hell and how hell is described, the lake of fire and everything. Um, I also don't like that. It's such a big misconception that the devil runs hell. That's one thing I that like has always like kind of like irked me because he doesn't control it. He's just the first to be thrown in it.
Mhm.
Um, but I really like don't know where this like idea of the devil rules hell like comes from. Like, nah, God still runs it
Mhm.
under his own accord. It's just away from him, but it's still under him.
Management, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still under management of God. Um, it's so it's like these weird ideas. It's like it's kind of in the scriptures. So like, where is this coming from, or is it just like a misrepresentation of what's there?
Mhm.
Um, but going with that, one of the things that's really interested me is God allows the demons and everyone to operate. That's just
Mhm.
how it is.
Yeah.
God has the power to stop them. Um, so then it comes to the question of why doesn't he? And people say it's to push your faith. That's not really what I'm getting into. I forget the scripture. I watched a video on it because I still, well, I am agnostic. Um, I still want to believe. It's just logically I cannot.
Mhm.
But the religion itself is still fascinating to me. Um, because the way I see religion, I see it as like the lore of the world.
Mm,
Um, because there's so much wisdom in it still, and it's people who wrote it. It's one of the oldest texts in the world. So there's so much there that you can learn from it and just kind of understand people. Um, but I think I was watching the video and it was going over like what God doesn't and doesn't allow demons. And then he came up with a theory that it was like the only thing that God does not permit is for them to like pretty much mate with humans. I forget what scriptures he used and everything. It was a while ago. Um, I don't know if you have any insight on that or any scripture, but that was one thing I was like, that would make a lot of sense if that's the one thing that he would not permit.
mhm.
What are your thoughts on that?
So, yeah, demons mating with humans, that did happen in the Bible and is
Mhm.
recorded, before the time of Moses, right?
Mhm.
Back in Noah, in Genesis, the very beginning of the chapters. There were Nephilim, right?
Mhm.
When Satan and one third of the angels in heaven were exiled from heaven, right? Due
Mhm.
to them betraying God.
Yeah.
They were exiled from heaven, right? One third of the angels went down with him. So those angels came down to the earth, right? During Adam and Eve's time, right? Obviously, they multiplied the earth, right? So then humans began mating with demons, and then the demons began giving knowledge to humans. And I don't know everything about that, right?
Yeah.
Of what happened, right? I
I
wasn't
would I would
alive.
like to be alive during that time just to kinda, like,
Yeah.
see and understand more.
So yeah, it's wild, right? There was a lot of sin in the world at that time, which is why God decided to like cleanse the earth, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Why didn't he just send Jesus then during that time? That's another thing. If
mhm,
he was always around, why didn't he just send Jesus then? But then again, I don't know. Maybe he did chose at the right time, and
mhm.
I can't understand it because I don't know the whole game plan.
So the coming of Jesus, right? If you look into it, the earth wasn't well established at that time yet.
Mm,
When Jesus came, there was a lot of empires, the Roman Empire, the Egyptians, right, the
mm,
Chinese, the Mongolians. Everyone was sort of arising, right? Trade routes were beginning to upcome, right?
mhm.
Stuff was becoming to establish. Superpowers in the world were slowly arising, right? And then the Roman Empire was when it was at its peak, right?
Yeah.
So due to the Roman Empire, it kind of, I don't remember where, right? But it kind of made sense for Jesus to come later in the time, right? The time he came in at was realistically it was the perfect time that Jesus
Mhm.
came into, right? But if we go back to when you said when we were talking about Noah, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Back then there was a lot more, you could say, free will that everyone had, and even now we have free will. But yes, so demons did mate with humans, and then the Nephilim were born, right? How do you say? Not hybrid, but like a half human, half angel, right?
The demi no, that's something else.
Demigod,
Yeah, that's
no,
something else.
I wouldn't know what to call them, but they were referred to as giants, Nephilim, right?
Mm,
So in that, there were giants, right? And that's why the story of David and Goliath comes to be, right?
yeah.
David versus Goliath. Goliath was half demon, half god, right? I mean, half demon, half human.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, "Wait." Oh, yeah. She just had a half brother.
Yeah, so there was a lot of that. And that's where also like the Bible doesn't talk about it, but you can kind of create your own ideas, right?
Mhm.
What, like you said, Greek mythology and all of that stuff, right? The headed horseman,
Yeah.
the stuff like that is where it comes to play, right? If demons were free to mate, maybe they mated with animals, right? That's why there's
Mhm.
such depictions of mermaids. Like, can someone really come up with a mermaid and put it together, right? Can someone really create a vivid image of a headless horseman? Can someone really create gods and Hades and all that? I think maybe there's comes into play, right? Maybe Hades was a demon. Maybe all these things were demons manifesting in different forms. It's just an idea, right? It's not
Yeah.
something I'd pursue, right? But it comes into play, right? It's a lot of how you could say, it's a lot of fairy tale stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because in today's world, right, we live our daily life day to day. We don't think of it as spiritually, right?
Yeah, it's a lot more black and white than it was rainbows and unicorns over there.
Yeah, and then yeah, like unicorns and all that. So I mean, the Bible does mention unicorns a couple times, but I think that now in today's world, I think there's a verse in Romans, right?
Mhm.
And it says, "He who lives in the flesh sees only in the flesh. He who lives in the spirit sees in the spirit." So there is a spiritual side to Christianity that doesn't make sense to someone who lives in the flesh.
Mhm.
In order to someone for someone to see in the spirit, they have to be in the spirit. That
Mhm.
doesn't make sense, right? How can someone physically in my body, right, um go into the spirit, right?
Mhm.
And you kind of see that where people who do certain types of substances, right,
Yeah, yeah.
drugs, I don't want to
No, you're
get
good,
you
you're good.
flagged.
I'm not
They
monetized yet.
You're good. Hey, soon, soon.
Hey, hopefully.
Hey, we'll pray for that, we'll get that happen
I need
going.
another 200 subs. I mean, 800 subs.
Hey, y'all make it happen.
860. Hit the subscribe button. Like and follow, please.
um, yeah, I lost my train of thought, but so people can't access the spiritual realm, right?
Mhm.
Through God, right? There's a lot of people who can prophesy, and there's a lot of people who can see in the spirit, right? Who can have
Mhm.
dreams, right? All of that is able to happen, just that a lot of people lie about it. A lot of people say they have had dreams. A lot of people say and they'll be like, "Hey, I had a dream that said you and so will be married," or "I had a dream that God will come tomorrow," or even on TikTok, you'll have people saying that their kids had dreams of Jesus coming tomorrow to be prepared, right? So in that sense, it when someone actually has that gift, right? And they're called gifts, but in Spanish, right, they're called dones, right?
Mhm.
They're called gifts of the Holy Spirit. Um, and God places everyone with gives gifts to everyone, right? We
Mhm.
all have our own talents and our own special abilities, right? Some
Mhm.
people are better at math and others, right? Those are talents, right? But gifts spiritually are given by God, and you have those gifts. And so prophesying and seeing in the spirit, you have people that can actually do it, right? It's
Mhm.
just rare to see nowadays someone being so spiritually active and inclined, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you can YouTube it, right? Ex Satanist and ex whatever, right? Ex Satanists can tell you that they when they would access the spiritual realm, right? And they would astral project, and they would do a bunch of stuff that you would never think of doing, right?
Yeah.
It's spiritual stuff that you say, is it real, right? Is that real? And we live our life in, right, black and white, right?
Yeah.
Physical. We don't think of the spiritual side to the earth. But there is a spiritual side, and it's evil versus bad, right?
Mhm.
And that's especially shown on agendas that are pushed, right, by Satanists and Christianity, right?
Mhm.
If if Christianity existed, or would you say that you believe that there is a dark side to the earth spiritually?
It's hard to say because I've never had a spiritual experience.
Mhm.
So I really have a hard time understanding it. And I've tried.
Mhm.
I've tried meditation, um, any sort of like sober way to get there. Because I don't want to do no DMT right now. um, but I haven't been able to connect or feel like
Mhm.
I wish I could, but I have no sense of it, so I can't really say. I would say if it's anything like the world that we live in, a reflection of it, then I would say, yeah, there definitely has to be some bad. But then the bad just might be the absence of the good. Just like light, darkness is the absence of the light.
Mhm.
Um, so I think there could definitely be bad spirits, um, or maybe it's our own
Doing
human, um
shortcomings.
yeah, that are perceiving it as bad, um because we know as humans we're messed up. Like, we're our human nature, I've thought about it for a long time. I don't think our human nature is neither good nor bad. I just think it's survivalistic. I think we're in a means to survive, and that's where a lot of it roots from. But in our modern day, we're not built our survival instincts aren't built for the modern day. So I think we get a lot of issues, and we kinda have to go against ourselves in a way. That's why they say that your biggest enemy is yourself, because it really
Mhm,
is. You're gonna have so many, intentions that you might wanna do that just don't benefit you in the current state of the world or those around you, which I think the Bible is a great tool, for those who are lost and battling whatever's inside of them, because I think it is filled with a lot of great wisdom, um, that you can use as to help yourself. And with it, there comes a community of people who are willing to help you. So I don't think in the current day of age that modern religion is as bad as it used to be, because people used to crusade in the name of the Lord, and I don't believe in that.
mhm.
But I think how we have it set up currently in America, not the big convention churches though. You ever see that one church in Texas with
The
like the
mega
whole oh my
churches.
god, like I don't like that. But I think modern churches, that are devoted to helping those around them, and not just their community members, their Christian community members, but their whole community. I think it's very beneficial. I think that a lot of people can learn from it even if they don't believe. So you asked me about the dark spirits. I think I kind of went off a tangent there. So yeah, I think there's dark spirits in the sense of the Christianity space. In the spiritual sense, I think it might be a little bit different,
Mhm,
because I think you can have two logical reasonings, but have two different conclusions. Um, but then that goes into kind of where you were saying about the gifts from the Holy Spirit. Why does God give some the ability and some not? Because I want to believe.
mhm,
And if I had one of those experiences, I'm pretty sure I would.
mhm.
Yet God chooses to not give me that experience. So is he denying me?
Yeah, so in your sense of experiencing something, I think that you are the modern day Thomas. I don't know if you've heard of Thomas in the Bible.
Yeah, doubting Thomas.
The
Yeah.
doubting Thomas, yeah. He was so arrogant and so in his mind, he wanted God to prove himself, right? He wanted God to when Jesus was standing in front of him, right? Thomas didn't believe Jesus. He said, You
Yeah.
didn't resurrect, right?"
Show me your
Till
hands.
yeah, till he put his hands through the where the nails were, right?
Mhm.
So and I think that you're allowed to question it. You're allowed to ask questions, right? Why are we how do I say this? Why are such a large amount of people in today's society or even back then, right?
Mhm.
Back then I personally believe that people were a lot more religious and a lot more how do you say it more cognizant of the fact that they believed in one god, right?
Yeah.
The founding fathers were not all Christian, but
Mhm.
many they had Christian beliefs in the
Yeah.
sense of court justice trial, right? The Christian
Mhm.
belief is that in the afterlife, right, when you go up to heaven, you will be judged and you will be judged by God, right? And Jesus serves as your lawyer, and and the devil is on the other side, right? But wow. But yeah, I mean, you're allowed to question it, and I think that a lot of people in a lot of churches push the idea of don't question it, right? Just do as you're told. If you
Mhm.
become a Christian, right? Some Christian families tell you read your Bible. Some Christian families force it upon the person to do that,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Which is not what my family did, right? They don't do that. And sometimes because it's forced, I guess people deny it, right?
Yeah.
And for you to not have experiences, I think that I can't answer that, right? I
Yeah.
can't say, Julian, you've done this and this and this in your life. That's why you can't know. Personally, the only spiritual experience that I've encountered is the presence of God, right?
Mhm.
Um, Encountering His presence, whether that be in my room through
What
prayer.
does that feel like?
So when you feel the presence of God, it can manifest in church as in church, right? Personally, I've at church camps, right?
Mhm.
This past year at church camp, we had one in Naperville,
Mhm.
and you can feel it, right?
Mhm.
And you start, I feel like personally I'll get goosebumps and I'll be like, "Yeah, right?" But it's not like, "Oh, I got goosebumps now." You'll get goosebumps and you'll say the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, right?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But you feel at peace and you feel a sense of like joy and excitement that like it's unexplainable.
Mhm.
And some people start dancing, some people start crying, some people start just jumping and running,
Mhm.
some people start praying in tongues, some people start doing weird stuff. They'll jump on one leg, right? And it happens in church on Sunday sometimes too, right?
Mhm.
I do go to a Pentecostal church, right? So
Mhm.
they're more spiritually inclined than most church, right? Than
Yeah.
Baptists and other stuff, right? Because some Christians don't believe in the Holy Spirit.
Mhm.
But I think that the Holy Trinity is as is, and I think that when God does decide to touch you, not like that, right? But through a spiritual sense. Um and that's something that I can't really put into words, right? And I don't want to say you'll just have to experience it one day, right?
Mhm.
But it's sort of like, how do I say it? It's sort of like when your mom hugs you, right? Like,
Mhm.
Julian, I hope you've had a good day. And she like hugs you really tight before you leave, right? You can
Yeah.
picture that feeling, the warmth of her hug, right? You can feel that love, right? You're like,
Yeah.
I'm at peace in this moment, right?
Yeah.
In that moment, right? If you close your eyes and or you're with someone you truly love, you deeply love, whether that be a loved one, a significant other, right? And you're at peace and you feel that, right?
Mhm.
That, how do I say it? That peace at heart where you're comfortable, right? I keep
Yeah.
saying peace and peace. That's
Mhm.
really what it is. Peace, and that, like how they'll say in the Bible, right? Or during preaching and sermons, that everlasting love, you do feel it.
Mhm.
And it can manifest in many forms, right? And I think that pursuing God more allows you, and also fasting, right?
Mhm.
For someone to have, I feel like I don't fast that often anymore. But I feel like that when you do fasting, right? And not in the sense of I'll go 8 hours or I'll do a morning fast or I'll do something, right? To not Fasting in its sense is not just starving yourself of food, right? Because I'll do that, right? We'll just go to school without eating breakfast and wait till we get home to eat, right?
Yeah.
That's not fasting. Fasting is the tool to help you become more spiritually inclined to God. And it doesn't always have to be food, right?
Mhm.
Fasting could be fasting from your cell phone, right?
Mhm.
Fasting can be the absence of something that distracts you from God to allow you to reconnect with Him on a deeper meaning, right? So whether it be your phone, like I said, food is a big one thing, right? That people go on, right? They'll say, I'm going to fast from it, right? Just to not feed the flesh, because that's what they'll say, right? I'm going to abstain from feeding the flesh, right? Whether
Mhm.
that be through entertainment, whether that be through food, right? Because you
Yeah.
feel good after you eat, right? You want to
Yeah.
get, no one says no to Wingstop, Chick-fil-A, right? They're down to eat some grub, right? But fasting is really important in the sense for spiritual life. If you want to have that communion with God, if you
Mhm.
want to have that prayer life that you need, if you want breakthrough, right?
Mhm.
In a habitual sin that you're constantly going back to, fasting is the answer. And
Mhm.
fasting can sometimes really, really suck because you're hungry. But when I do fast personally, I can say that you don't feel hungry. You don't feel hungry in the sense that you want to eat, right? When you're really hungry, you don't. You're hungry, but you're hungry for the word. You're hungry for learning more about God. And it's kind of hard to do that when you're not alone, right? When I'm alone in my room and say I'll go fasting, right? I'll usually ask the last time I fasted, I asked my pastor if I could go to the church, and I was in the church alone complete. It was kind of weird, right? For the first time
Yeah.
being alone in a church, right? But yeah, I went up to the altar and I was praying, I didn't have a supernatural encounter while fasting, but I felt connected, and I felt that, like, when I was reading the Bible, right? I would pray, I would read, and it was super boring at first, right? I couldn't get my mind to focus on it.
Yeah.
But you pray, you read, and you kind of get into this flow state, and then out of nowhere, maybe at the halfway point, you really do, like, start to understand the Bible, and it makes sense, and it connects, and you understand the meaning of what God's trying to speak to you, right? And
Mhm.
God speaking to you isn't always through someone else, a sermon, or someone telling you, hey, God loves you, right? God can work through the Bible, and if you read the Bible a lot out loud, it sometimes helps. If you're trying to get through it faster, obviously reading in your mind is quicker. But yeah, I think that spiritually, there's a lot of things that I don't know yet,
Mhm.
and yeah, I don't know what you think of what I've just said.
No, I think,
It's a
um,
lot.
yeah, but I think it's a lot in a good manner. Clearly, you understand where you're at with everything, um, and you still have, I guess, the only word I know how to describe it is this hunger to still go for it,
Mhm.
and still be faithful and still um, grow close with the Lord, which is a great thing. A lot of people they end up just kind of as they get older dismissing it, especially something that's like when they were younger they were Christian, but then you get a little older and then you start getting responsibilities and then you get a job and then you get a girlfriend and then oh shit now you got a kid and a wife and like you're like oh where am I at now and a lot of people kind of just start to lose it. But you're aware of your situation, you're aware of where you're aware of where you're at, and I think you're in a great position, and I think you're gonna continue to do great with it, and you know a lot too. Um, you know how the Bible got formatted. You know a lot of the history of it, and you're going deeper than just reading your Bible and going to church on Sundays. You're doing more than that, which is something that's really important, I believe, in order to grow your faith. Um, because if you don't know what you're reading, how do you know
Mhm.
why you're reading it?
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, like I'm reading a book that's really old. I don't know where it kinda came from.
Mhm.
People just tell me that, "Read it and grow close with God." I'm sure it will tell me how to do that. It's
Mhm.
not gonna do that
Yeah.
unless you put in a lot of time and effort to understand what this book is. Like, what's the difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament? Why is it different? What do
Mhm.
some people believe? What do other people not believe? Why do they think this way? And just kinda exploring that, I think is really useful. You said fasting. That's something I haven't heard from a Christian. Maybe I'm out the loop. I know Ramadan, but that's mostly Muslim or Islamic. But fasting in the Christian culture, I haven't heard of. So where does that kind of come from?
So fasting is so like I said, my church, the church I go to is very old school in the way that they do things, and a lot of the principles and beliefs that they have originate and stem from the Bible. If you ask a question, they will be glad to show you the verse and direct you to it. If they cannot answer your question, I don't know, they'll let you know, right?
Yeah,
So fasting, we see it first in the New Testament when Jesus fasted, right? Sorry.
you're good.
Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. And during that fasting, there's a verse in Matthew chapter 4, right? Finally, I get a verse I could read up the top of my head, right? He said, man shall not eat from only bread, right? So you shouldn't only live off of the food in the, how to say, you shouldn't be reliant on the earth of this food, right? As well. The earth of this food. The food of this earth, right? But he shall eat from every word that comes from the mouth of God. Meaning, we shouldn't be reliant on the food that's provided for us, right? To keep
Yeah.
us sustained, right? It food provides energy and right. I don't know much about that chemical breakdown and stuff, but we should live from the word of God, right? So fasting really allows yourself to elevate your spirit and kill the flesh, right? That's
Yeah.
something that's not spoken that openly about, right?
Mhm.
Killing the flesh. What does that mean? Killing the flesh is staying off your phone, right? Not feeding your flesh, right? Cuz we're made up of body, spirit and flesh, right? No, no, no. Body, spirit and soul. Okay?
Body, spirit, and soul.
Your conscious, your body, and your soul.
Okay.
So we're made up of it in Christianity, right? Well, I believe that in the world, others may not. You're
Mm.
made up of your conscious,
Mhm.
right? That's you. That's your mind, right? You're with your soul, right? And your body. Your
Mhm.
body's the flesh, right? Your body will eventually one day be left here.
Mm.
So with that, your body is what holds you back in your faith, right? People say, I don't have the urge to read my Bible. I don't have the urge to pray. I don't have the urge to go to the gym. I don't have the urge to do this or that, right? That's your body wanting you to lay down. That's you wanting to sit down. So, in that, that's your body. That's why people, you said it yourself, right? You versus you. That's what holds people back in life, in many other paths, right? It's not in Christianity, even though it's a religion that's presented to you as, hey, if you're Christian, if you give your life to God, your life will immensely be blessed and you'll be immensely greatly rewarded. No, quite the opposite will happen to you if you become a Christian, right? You'll have peace, you'll have love of God, right? You'll have that, but you'll have battles, right? You'll have spiritual battles, right? You'll
Mhm.
be tempted to do other things, right? And once you become Christian and once, how I'll say it, personally, right? Once I became Christian and once I became right, I didn't think I was a bad kid, right? I didn't think I was a bad person in that aspect, right? I thought I was a good person, right? I haven't done anything pretty bad, right?
Mhm.
I lie, I steal, right? But when you go down to when you go down to the Bible, right, and you look at it, right, sin by sin, everybody's a sinner, right? That's why everyone says I'm not clean, I'm not this, right? So that's what they'll say everyone's lost. And yeah, fasting is the tool used anciently as well. People would fast back then. They would build altars and they would build them in order to feel the presence of God, right? And
Mhm.
they would fast and they would cleanse themselves spiritually, sanctify themselves before they could enter those altars back then. And there's a whole study on those, right? Of how they were built, the way they were built, why they were built, and that only in the middle of that altars, they were called altars, right? That they were built, that only in the middle you could enter, and certain people were allowed to enter at certain times of the day to feel the presence of God.
You wanna know something crazy I learned?
What's up?
It's that one of the old temples for Yahweh,
Hmm.
so God, they found cannabinoids
Hmm.
in the walls. So there goes a theory that they were hotboxing the temple with weed. I'm not kidding either. They feel it somehow preserved because of a weird building thing material that they use that really is good at preserving things. But they found weed in the walls. So now I'm wondering
Hmm.
how much of religion comes from like drugs to enhance the spirit,
Yeah.
or like herbs that make you
Hmm.
feel God. And now, I'm like, what does feel God mean? These
Hmm.
people were high.
Yeah.
um, so I think we kind of ignored how strong drugs have been in our society
No, yeah,
and our
you're not wrong.
religions. I'm not saying it takes away from it, but I just thought it was a cool fact to add in. We were talking about temples and altars.
Mhm.
Um, I love how you're able to just go like you're able to talk about. I haven't found someone who's like able to just kind of like go on and on, and I was following with it. I got lost at some points. I'll be honest,
No, yeah,
but
it's a
that's
lot.
that's my brain fart. Um, but I want to kind of also get into you. I
Mhm.
love the religion and it's a strong
No, yeah.
aspect of you.
Mhm.
But I think while we're here, we also have to explore David
Yeah.
because who is David? Why is David? And what does David think? Although we already got some of that.
Mhm.
Um, so I want to go off. What are your current life plans and goals going into this next phase of life?
Yeah, so graduating high school, I've pretty much decided that college is not what I'm gonna go into, right?
Hmm.
I've decided that that's not what I wanna pursue. I hate school,
Yeah.
like many of us do. And I think that I want to everyone says they wanna be rich. Everyone says they wanna have that lifestyle, that
Yeah. Who
dream
doesn't?
life, the cars, the
Hmm.
wife, the kids, right? You wanna have that, right? Be financially stable, but no one actually wants to put in the work, right? Nobody
Mm-mm.
does. So I think that I want to be financially free in the aspect of I want to have my own company.
Mhm.
I want to pursue that company in HVAC.
Okay.
So HVAC,
Mhm.
heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration, right?
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of metrics showing that the average age of an HVAC technician is closer to 55.
Damn.
And most of them are retiring,
Mhm.
and most of them are selling off their companies, and there's a growing number of less and less of technicians in the United States alone.
Yeah.
There's close to only half a million technicians, licensed technicians in the United States, half
Half
a
a
million.
million.
Yeah. So I think that's a market that's going to open up pretty soon that's going to be way overvalued, right?
Mhm.
Obviously trades as a whole, nobody's wanting to do them.
Yeah.
Everyone's going into white collar work.
Mhm.
And I think that my dad is the sole reason why I got to learn about trades, right? He has his own landscaping business. I'm
Yeah.
Mexican, right? I fit the stereotype. Yeah, and I think having him as my background and helping him out during summers, right? I think that's what's really helped me, right? I enjoy working with my hands, right?
Mhm.
Even though I've had experiences where like, dad, I don't want to do this. I hate this, right? But
Yeah.
I've come to kind of love it, right? Yard
Mhm.
work, right?
Yeah.
Who would have thought of that?
Probably a
But
lot of people.
hey, it's in my blood.
It's in your blood, man.
Hey, Trump, if you're seeing this, don't deport me.
Tiene papeles.
Yeah, no, no, no. Yeah. So my dad, and he's always telling me, right? You don't have to make money from online crypto, right? Whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I think or
That's where a lot of people are
trading or
going
less.
into,
A
yeah,
lot of
the
people
day
think
trading.
that, right? Yeah, and I think I do like trading in the sense of long-term trading, right? S&P 500, Apple,
Mhm.
Google, right?
Investments, yeah.
I don't like the day trading. I would go into it, but that's not what I see. How do I say it? I feel like trading, it's time consuming. It takes time to learn, right? 6 months to learn something, right?
It's actually a recession indicator. The more people that get into day trading,
Mm-hmm.
the higher the chances are we're heading into a recession.
Really?
Yeah. It was a trend I think before the 2008 recession where we saw kind of a boom of people day trading and then we saw it again in 2020 where like once the economy drops off, people get desperate and they think day trading, I'll invest in the stock market, learn that.
Mm-hmm.
And we see an influx of people going into that.
Yeah.
Um, but continue on with what you were going with.
So yeah, I think trading is a way to grow your assets.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that it's not the way I want to make my money, right?
Yeah.
I want to make my money through having my own company and
Mhm.
growing that as large as possible, as I could, right?
Would you ever limit your growth?
No,
No?
no, I'm gonna pursue that 100%. I'm gonna get as big as I can, and that mindset, I think that's the mindset that has helped me with and I'm learning a lot working with my dad, right? Seeing how he's working with his company,
Yeah.
how he treats clients, right? He always puts the client first. and that business client relationship is important, right? Even though he runs his company way old school, right? I don't like every aspect of it, but
Yeah.
I'm learning what I like, what I don't like, what I could better. And I think
Mhm.
that I'm always looking to the future, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to slow down, right? Trying to build my plans step by step, right? So yeah, I think I'm going to go into HVAC.
Mhm.
I will, right?
Yeah, you're going to.
Yeah, I will. I'm not gonna be a landscaper forever, and then yeah, that's the life. I'm gonna pursue it and pour all my money into it.
I mean, yeah, you are obviously already studied the market. You obviously know the job security,
Yeah, that's a
because
factor.
especially with AI, it's one thing that they can't take over. So
Yep.
you're safe there.
Unless they build a machine.
That would be they. You would need like some Tesla robots to do that.
I think that AI is something that's going to take over many jobs, right?
I think it's gonna crash. Honestly, I think we're gonna. I think the AI market's gonna crash.
Really.
Um,
I like AI. Personally, I like AI because we can implement it into many things. And for example, if I start my own company, I don't need to hire someone to do many things. I could say I get employees. You could skip a bunch of the things due to softwares and
and
AI.
looking from a capitalistic perspective, that is a phenomenal thing. Think about how much money you're saving it. But
Hmm.
then if you're looking at it from more of a well-being and civil issue, we're going to lose jobs. The unemployment rate is going to go up. The economy is going to go down because if no one has jobs, no one's going to be buying. And if no one's buying, these companies aren't making as much money. So I think it's a trade-off, that I think we would need regulation. I honestly think we need regulations
On AI.
on AI to ensure job security. Because
Hmm.
if it takes off and it takes our jobs, that's bad. I think we should use it as a calculator,
Hmm.
not a human.
So yeah, looking at it as a business, you're 100% right. It's
Mhm,
way better to optimize profits, revenue sources, everything.
mhm.
But in that aspect, also, I think that you talking about jobs coming off and everything, I think that's why Trump is implementing so many tariffs, right?
Okay.
He is a businessman at heart, right? He runs the country as a business, right? Everything he does is strategically and he thinks long term. The Monroe Doctrine, right? I'm gonna get a little political.
No, no, you're good.
The Monroe Doctrine
Yeah.
is that the Western Hemisphere belongs to the United States and the Eastern, right, to China and Russia. So that's why he invaded Venezuela. He's going to invade Greenland for the long-term future and stability. To have Greenland has minerals, rare earths, and supplies, right? If the US has a direct source, right, from Greenland to Canada to the US for those supplies, those rare earth metals, steel, and the coal and all the things we need to run our country, and Venezuela has immense amounts of oil, right? If all the oil from Venezuela was taken out today, we would have $17 trillion flooded into the oil market, right? Obviously, they're not going to take it out in one day,
Mhm.
but I think that strategically he's doing that, and he with the tariffs and the things he's implementing, bringing back certain companies back to the U.S., bringing more jobs. I think that it's might be a struggle, right? Due to the fact that we might get rid of minimum wage jobs, right? We might get rid of McDonald's workers and
So the backbone of America.
basically, right? But I think that in that sense, we'll find people will have to adapt to that, and people will have to find other jobs to work at.
The a lot of the issues is that, right now, the tariff costs are
Hmm.
coming back to the consumer. It's not they I think the number was only 4% has been eaten by the industries,
Hmm.
while I think it was I don't wanna fudge up the numbers, but it was a way higher number that the consumers have taken on,
Hmm.
in terms of pricing. I know at my current job, we are low on stock because the tariffs are impacting what we can get.
Mhm.
So now we're coming into a situation where people aren't gonna be able to buy the goods or wants that they need, which also hurts our business. Um, so the tariffs, I believe, do more harm than good. We got into the Great Depression because of tariffs. But that we didn't get out of it. We got out of it because we taxed the wealthy, and created socialist programs like Social Security,
Mhm.
welfare, like all those types of things, in order to get out of that. In terms of Venezuela, I think from a globalist point of view, it was smart. I just don't agree with the violation of international law.
Yeah.
I think it gave China too much permission to invade Taiwan now, and Russia too much permission to invade Ukraine now, because now that we just took out,
Ukraine and Russia is still going on.
yeah, it's gonna continue.
Mhm.
But I mainly the China and Taiwan, because now they're
So
seeing the U.S. do this. They're like, okay, so when you do it, it's fine, but now when we do it, it's not good.
to, yeah,
Go
to
for it. Go
counter
ahead.
that, if you look a couple weeks back, you know how Israel and the U.S. jointly bombed Iran, right?
Which I also do not agree with. I think we sent
So
too much money to Israel. That's a whole different thing.
no, I totally agree with you on that. I
Yeah.
totally agree with you. Yeah, we'll get into
Yeah,
that
yeah,
later
yeah.
on. So
I kind of want to get monetized. We won't get into that. They own it.
no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Palantir's watching. Um. So yeah, when they bombed Iran, they bombed Iran strategically. The main points that they hit were their oil facilities, their oil refineries, and they hit many of Iran's large oil companies. So I don't know the number of people that died. I don't know the right. I can't
Yeah.
tell you that. But so the 80% of Iran's oil was being bought up by China
Yeah.
and Russia, right? Russia is also one of the largest producers of oil. Um, and for someone that doesn't know, right, the world's run by oil. Um, and Venezuela's oil was also being bought up by China and Russia, mainly China, close to 75 to 90%. I can't remember
Mhm.
an exact number, right? So taking away China's main two oil how do I say it? Importers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Iran and Venezuela, taking that away, Iran's infrastructure is gone, and Venezuela no longer is producing oil for them. That forces China to buy oil from other countries, right? Smaller countries. And eventually the US wants to sell their oil to China. I think that that's what Trump's wanting to do, right? Force these countries into positions where they can't negotiate, right? Where he has the leverage. And as for Taiwan being invaded, I don't think that Taiwan will be invaded anytime soon. That's just a belief. And for Ukraine, I blame it's radical, it's very unpopular, but I think that Zelensky is at fault for the ongoing war. I think that a correct president, a well-minded president would end the war, give Russia the territory that they want, um, for the sake of the number of people that are dying, right? I think that this war's been going on since what, 2020, right?
Yeah, it was
Probably
early
even before then,
2020s.
right?
They've always been bickering.
Yeah, but now lives are being lost. People are going to war, and I'm not a well versed in global economics, right?
Yeah.
But I think that down to a human level, a president who cares about his people and not looking strong to other countries, a president who is patriotic and puts his people first, would end the war and would negotiate a peace treaty with
K-
Putin, whether that be at the cost of them losing infrastructure, whether that be at the cost of them losing territory. I think losing territory and losing people and losing hundreds of thousands, close to millions now, right? Of people are continuously dying day by day due to you being the fact that you want to look strong to Russia, right? I think that if you really valued your people, if you really valued your country, you would give up territory, right? You look weak. Yes, you look like you lost the war, and you would in lose to Putin, right? Putin would win. And yes, that's not a good look, but I think the value of people has is is more important than looking tough to the world against Putin.
Um, I just don't believe that we could trust Putin. I don't think I think that if he were to give him territory,
Mhm.
he's just gonna come right back out
For
while they
more.
recuperate. Huh? For
For
more.
more, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think that someone like him is because he's talked time about taking Ukraine. Why should we? They want to take back the territory they lost once the Soviet Union um, dissolved.
Mhm.
That's what it is. Um, and I don't think that he's someone he can be trusted with, and I think that um, Europe and the United States are being weak and not taking a stand against the uh, Russia,
Mhm.
because Ukraine tried joining NATO
Mhm.
pre-war, and they were denied because we were scared that Russia was going to invade them, and that would
Mhm.
trigger Article 5. And Putin really didn't want Ukraine to enter NATO because of that reason.
Yeah.
And I think it was weak um, on the major power scale.
Mhm.
Um, when you talked about the Iran and Venezuela, that's why I say it's smart. Like that's why I'm not I can't be totally mad,
Mhm.
but come on. At least we used to be smarter before, even before the CIA. The Spanish boat incident. The Spanish didn't blow up that boat, but we should have hell used it as a reason to like attack and take over the Virgin Islands and the Philippines and Puerto Rico to take those. Like I wouldn't be mad at that if we just faked the little boat incident. But now the global stage knows that we just went in.
Mhm.
And I don't think that was smart how we handled that because now it puts us at the front page for breaking international law. Um, and then it comes like now that we're going after Greenland,
Mhm.
a country under NATO and a strong ally of the European Union.
Mhm.
I don't know if the part are they part of the EU?
Denmark, yeah,
Yeah,
Denmark's part of the
Denmark's
union.
yeah, because Greenland's a property of Denmark.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think it's a smart move, and I don't think it is worth the United States time and effort to try to take that land. We
Greenland.
Greenland, yeah. We already have the deal where we can put up as many military bases there as we want. We can. We don't. We have that agreement there for national security purposes to defend against Russia and China.
Mhm.
So what's the point of taking it? It's going to be the resources, like you said.
That and also the due to global warming, many of the icebergs are melting, so there will be a new passage, right? And
Mm,
it's estimated that World Economics, right, are
mm,
estating that it'll cut the time path, right? Instead of going through Panama,
mm,
they'll go through the north, right?
mm,
And it'll cut time down by 40%. 40%, it's close to 50, right?
mm.
That's way better. So that's also another factor that comes to play in. And like you said, us breaking international law, I'm not worried about that. We are the world superpower. We run the world and we do what we want, right? Trump was forcing Germany, France, and all the other countries that if they didn't leave in under 24 hours that tariffs were going to be placed, they left right away. And under the Germany's and France troops, they sent 22,000 or 25,000,
We just can't
something like that.
Actually, Europe just canceled our trade agreement. They're negating it. The one that Trump was, using.
Mhm.
They while he was doing his speech, they halted it.
Yeah.
So it's gonna impact us again. Our own economy is gonna impact us
Mhm.
again. We're making foes of our allies. Yes, we can beat NATO because god damn, look at our military. Um, we could easily beat NATO.
Yeah.
But if we go to war with NATO, that's a whole other issue. And then you know who's gonna jump on? Just because people don't like the world doesn't like the United States half the time.
Yeah.
We're bullies. Um, so you know the Middle East is gonna join in. You know who else is gonna join in? Seize the opportunity? Probably Russia and China. They'll probably hit Alaska from Russia, and then they'll probably hit our East Coast from China. So now we're gonna be boots on the ground over in Greenland, and then we're gonna be dealing with an invasion over in California. I just don't think it is worth the time and energy, and I think we should be America first. And I think we should focus on our American policies to actually cut down egg prices, to actually bring down milk. I don't think that he is really being America first. I think we are pushing the world into disarray
He's pushing imperialism, taking
and
over land.
pure imperialism,
Mhm.
which I don't agree with. I was honestly hopeful, like the slightest bit hopeful that Trump would do something. Yeah, I know he's he's weird. I like his personality. I don't like it. I don't think
Mhm.
he's professional for a president. But I'm like, maybe this time around, he's putting America first. That's
Mhm.
what he's saying. Let's see how it goes. Let's see those Epstein files.
Mhm.
He has not put America first, and the Epstein files have still not been released, and they're not planning on release them
Didn't
even under the
they I
judicial
saw
order.
something about the Epstein files being released on Google,
Uh,
and that they only released like 1% of them
yeah,
due
one
to
percent, and
because they're
then
still going through there's so much stuff
hmm
that they have to.
they tried going through the courts to get a supervisor to go over, so the judicial system can kind of enforce the
Mhm.
law. The DOJ said you don't have that power. The judicial system has nothing to do here, and you have no enforcement mechanism nor punishment. They just kind of said "f off." We're doing our thing. You'll get them when you get them, and they also haven't given a reason for the redactions. It's been 30 days. They were given notice. They've over redacted with that reason. They haven't dropped it. And Trump was trying to push it back as long as he can. And finally, when he was put into a corner, he signed the thing because he knew it would look horrible. And
Mhm.
he's already been found in the files multiple times.
So, yeah, him being found in the files, I don't think Trump personally, I don't think Trump did anything incriminating, because of the fact that everybody's been knowing and everybody's been pushing that Trump was friends with Epstein, Trump was this, and they were pushing many false agendas, right? I think that if there was something incriminating on Trump, that it would have already come out. It would have already been leaked. We know that so much of America already hates Trump. If something truly damning and incriminating was in there, right? I think it would have come out already due to the fact of him being the president, and many people and many of his rivals are in the government still. So they would have done something to or push something out incriminating already while the what are they called? The elections
The
were going on.
the current ones?
Midterms, or
Midterms, yeah.
yeah, and
I mean,
everything.
midterms, the Republicans have it lost. Oh my god. Like,
Yeah.
and he actually has been joking about not having midterm elections. I don't know if you've heard about that.
No.
Yeah, he's been joking about we don't even need to have midterm elections, which is another scary thing. And he's
Mhm.
been forced trying to get Republican states to gerrymander even more in order to guarantee more seats because they're scared of the midterm elections. That's why they're amping things up right now. Look at January has been a fucking crazy month
Mhm.
because I don't think the administration's scared. As soon as
They have majority right now.
majority, they're gonna lose it. I'm almost confident they're gonna lose it. His approval ratings down to 39%.
Mhm.
People are dissatisfied with how he's handling immigration. People are dissatisfied with how he's handling foreign policy. People aren't seeing the promises that were made to them.
Hey, what about the gas prices?
Okay, gas prices,
Come
dude.
on.
I, I,
Bro, that's cheap. The gas is cheap, bro. I filled up my tank with I think $35.
yeah, dude.
A full tank of gas.
The gas. I was like, okay, this is pretty good. I saw the number. I'm like, God damn it.
But in turn, I think that everything will come to pass, right? I think that a lot of the narratives that Trump that are pushed around Trump, um I'm not gonna say he's perfect, right? I'm not gonna say he's the best president we've had, right?
I
But
think he's narcissistic and in a mental decline. and he doesn't have the priorities of the
In the
American
mental
people.
decline, Joe Biden was
Oh,
way
100%,
unqualified.
100%. But I think this dude's also too old now. I think we need a fucking age limit for the 65. No, 55.
Hmm.
I'll give it 60.
Yeah.
I'll give it 60.
Yeah. I think that, yeah, Trump is not perfect, right? You can't defend him for everything, right?
Would you
Um,
defend the current immigration process and policies?
so that's something, right? I have a very, very unpopular opinion on.
Okay.
Um, my take on that would be that the first of all, if immigration is being talked about so rampantly about right now, right?
Yeah.
I think the core root of immigration is due to other countries not stepping up their game, okay? I'm going to break it down.
Okay, break it
Immigration,
down. Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Mexico, for example. Mexico has a girl as a president right now, Claudia Sheinbaum, right?
Mhm.
She hasn't done anything for Mexico to prevent immigration, nothing to better the country, nothing for her to how do I say it? For there to be a incentive for her citizens to stay. Why
Mhm.
do people leave their countries, leave their families, leave literally their whole
Better
life
life.
for a better life, right? Because their country they're at isn't providing sustainable life, isn't providing how do you say civil? There's civil unrest, right?
Yeah.
There's narcos, there's gangs, right? Look at El Salvador. They're the first country to become the safest country in the Western Hemisphere, right? I think that if the president of El Salvador, right, he is openly conservative in his beliefs, he is openly Christian, and
Mhm.
he took how do I say it?
And he has a bunch of
A
human rights.
radical took turn on criminals, right?
Mhm. And in turn, he has a lot of humanity cases against him.
Yes. So I think that when you want to clean your country of crime, I think that the only way to do it is the Bukele way.
So even
Take
though that majority of illegal immigrants are committing less violent felonies than American-born citizens, we should target them. Shouldn't we be targeting the people who do the most, which should be natural-born American citizens?
what are you talking about?
I'm saying that illegal immigrants make up less percent of the violent offenders in this country. Majority of violent offenders
Uh-huh.
are American citizens.
So yeah,
So why are we targeting the minority?
the illegals.
Yeah, why don't we target American citizens and actually crack down on crime?
So for natural born citizens, right? For them, I say put them in jail, right? Keep them,
Then why aren't we cracking down
and
crime
then
there?
for illegals, right? I think that for legal, like you said, right? Nobody's perfect, whether you're born here or born over there,
Mhm.
right? Over there being the various countries that
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
immigrating from. Many of the people that ICE was defending, remember the Renee Good, the people she died for? Many of them were SA people, right? They did many things, right? I
Well,
can't remember the
well,
names.
right now, 70% of people
Mhm.
who are detained or held up,
Mhm.
I believe it's 70. It's around 70. Haven't committed a crime. It's just people who are here illegally,
So the Obama administration, right? They deported more people than any administration ever,
and
right?
they didn't violate civil liberties or due process. Abrego Garcia got sent straight to El Salvador without any legal representation, and then the government said, "Well, he's there. Too bad." Until a
Mhm.
judge literally had to do it, and they fought against the judge to bring him back
Mhm.
with no proof that he was actually in Agua. Yes, he had. They based it off tattoos,
Mhm.
but whether or not those tattoos actually meant anything, he wasn't given the civil liberties of due process in order to prove that, hey,
Mhm.
yeah, he did that.
Okay. So yes, I think that a lot of the stuff, right? Human rights violations, right?
Hmm.
That's important, and many of them are being broken. Families are being separated at the root core, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of injustices are being done right now, right?
Hmm. Violation of the Constitution, violation of civil liberties.
Hmm. But if you look at it,
killing
right?
American citizens.
If you look at it from a good and a bad, once you cross over into this country, whether that be illegally, right? And you now come into this country because you're looking for a better life, right? And you didn't go through the legal process, and you didn't go through, say you were, the main reason people come over here, right, is for refuge, right?
Hmm.
Because they were going through what's it called, not political, what's it called, political refuge or something. You're a
Yeah, yeah,
political victim of war or
yeah,
something. I
yeah,
can't remember the exact term, right? Someone coined it. Um Political refugee.
yeah, yeah.
That's what it is. Whether you're a political refugee or a gang was attacking you or something, right? And you didn't want to go through the legal process because it was going to take too long, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you came into this country illegally, right?
Mm-hmm.
For immigration, right? There's lots and lots of emotions. There's lots and lots of yes, you have to look at it by a legal status, right?
Yeah.
If you came in here illegally by law, you came in here illegally. You broke the law.
Mm-hmm.
Clear and simple, right? So yes, I understand that there is the how you say what's it called? You did break the law, okay? And that's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to get at. You broke the law when you step foot in here illegally. And yes, you can go about living your life. Yes, you can go about 18, 20, 25 plus years, right? Start a family, get married over here, do everything, be a good citizen, right? And maybe in that, when you were young, you had a DUI, right? But you're still living a good life and you turned your life around, right? You're not young, you're not reckless anymore. But you came here illegally. By
Mm-hmm.
law, you broke the law, you broke the rules, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yes, you should have that ability to fight your case, right?
Yep.
You should have that ability that to go with the judge, right?
Yep.
But they're not going to give it to you. And other than
Which is
other than
unconstitutional.
human value, right? Other than human value,
Yeah.
what right do you have to fight in this country, right? For and stand and show your flag, right? If you, I'm going to use Mexico because I'm Mexican, right? I'm born from two Mexican parents. You came from Mexico, right? I'll talk to myself, right? You came to Mexico illegally. I'm not legal. I'm not illegal. But
Yeah, you definitely got to put that in.
you came to this country illegally, right? You stepped
Uh-huh.
foot in here for a better life. You were reckless when you were young, right?
Mm-hmm.
Many people, right, when were stealing identities back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you heard about that, but a lot of people back then, I don't know what the growing number statistic was, but many people, to get good jobs back then, they would steal identities. They would give you false social security numbers, and you would get a driver's licenses. You would get many things through that, right?
Yeah.
So many Hispanic people were going through that and doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they stole identities, right? Maybe they weren't bad people, maybe they were Christians, maybe they were, right? But in by law they broke the law. They are illegal.
And
And
slaves who escaped broke the law too.
mhm,
So legality is immorality.
and the law that they emplaced for slaves, that your children should be citizens by law,
Mm-hmm.
that was meant for slaves, not for illegal immigrants running from a
But it's been
foreign
held up by
country.
the Supreme Court
Yeah.
multiple times.
And we're the only country in the world that allows that.
Yeah, because we're the best country in the world. So we're gonna be different.
I don't argue it, right? I don't. We are right. Number one. We aren't number one in math, reading, or anything
Or actually,
by
we're or
school
anything.
statistics.
Yeah, no. Actually, in any statistic, we're not number one. Actually, we are number one.
GDP,
Well, that too. China's a close. Actually, it might be China. It
number
might be
one in
the
spending for the military.
no. Gun deaths. I'm pretty sure it was gun deaths.
No,
Actually,
I said number one spending in the military.
oh, number one. Yeah, no. Yeah, that's us too. That's us too, baby. America number one. I believe it was gun deaths. At least first world countries. We have the highest number of gun deaths.
Yeah,
And
I
the
don't
number
doubt that.
and then number one reason for children dying,
Abortions.
gun related deaths.
1/3 of Gen Z has been killed due to abortions.
Well, that's if you believe abortion is a life or not, which is separate statistic.
I am pro-life.
Yeah.
I will say that I am pro-life.
So it would come down to the numbers of what people consider a life, which has always been a philosophical subject that no one's really answered.
Mhm.
Um, Going back to the immigration thing,
No, yeah.
you said you brought up a great point, which was the Obama administration. Do you know why people didn't care or really talk about it when Obama was doing it?
I can't give you an exact reason as for why, right? But Obama did deport, and he had the largest deportation, and
I'm pretty sure it was more than Trump's first term, right?
oh, way more, way more.
Yeah. And why did no one say anything?
I think that Trump is a unpopular personality, and I'm not gonna say that just because Trump is Trump, right? They didn't push back on him, right? Uh, Obama also won the National Peace Prize when they were also bombing Syria, right?
Hmm.
It's known that every 35 seconds in Syria under his term for I don't know how long a period of time, a bomb was dropping in Syria, but yet he still won the National Peace Prize.
Hmm.
Yet he still wasn't how do you say it? Butchered or how do you say it? Brought down or
Hmm.
made less of due to his immigration foreign policy, right? Yet he was the president who deported the most amount of people.
Hmm.
I think that whenever Trump does something, he does it very radically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's very unpopular because of he's very black and white, he's very blunt, and he doesn't care about you in the sense of he's gonna say it how he wants to say it. He's gonna do how he wants to do it.
And I don't think that's very presidential and someone fit to represent the United States of America. I think we need someone
Yeah,
with
but
professionalism.
he's the one president that when he says something, he's gonna get it done.
Where are the
So
Epstein files?
so
Where?
so
Why are my egg prices not that lower?
your egg prices.
Dude, my eggs are staying same. I'm scared they're gonna go up.
Hey,
But
bro, get your eggs from a farm.
that's even more, bro.
No, yeah, my mom's doing that. She's getting meat. She's bought
It's gonna be
raw
better to just
milk.
raise your own chickens at this point.
We're doing that in the summer. We're doing that in the summer, Julian.
Yo, I'm about to buy some eggs off you.
Hey, I'll give you some for free.
But
Maybe.
with Obama, the policies that they had implemented, they weren't as aggressive as this current administration. We see this administration.
What do you mean by that aggressive? I think that taking over 3 point something million people is pretty aggressive. That's a huge number of people. And you're telling me that not in one
On the
case of those,
on the
in
ground.
one case of those, right? Not one case of those was not done justly, bro. Statistically, some of those cases were maybe there were mishaps. There has to have been statistically there has to have been mistakes, errors, wrong people being taken. They counted the people, right? Obviously, right? We're talking about people as numbers, right? Which you shouldn't do, right? But
Which they actually do. They don't even call them people, they call them bodies.
mhm.
That's part of their dehumanization tactic.
Yeah, so but I mean dehumanization is also used for abortion. So um
Fair point.
so for that I think it's a matter of there's a growing number of what you care about and what you don't care about. I think that people are more inclined to hate Trump because they hate his personality, right? I'm not saying I do support Trump in some stuff and I don't support him in other things, right? I'd prefer Trump over Kamala, right? I don't think she would have done much good to our country. She would have bent a knee to Putin in China, right? I don't think she's a strong leader in that sense to uphold herself against other countries. Trump ended the Israel Palestine war. He had them sign a peace treaty. He ended
Which already ended.
Pakistani and India from going into conflict. He ended. I'm going on a rampage, right? But yeah, I don't support him in everything, right? I there's a lot of things that I dislike about him, but there's a few things I do like about him, and I think that he's doing a better job than Kamala ever could.
And then this is just me. I don't hate Trump just because I think he's unprofessional. I think if he was
Mhm.
unprofessional, was doing a good job, you know what? If I thought he was doing a good job, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. I dislike Trump because his policies and nice policies sent the baby to the hospital when a family was just driving home from a basketball practice. They shot and killed an American woman, American citizen. They took a disabled woman out of her car
Mhm.
while she was trying to go to get treatment. He's increased the ICE budget um, to the largest enforcement ever, the most um, they have the largest budget of any law enforcement agency. He's consistently um, threatened the Insurrection Act against people. He's mobilized the National Guard against American citizens. So he's consistently using the American military against the American people, which is unconstitutional.
On that, the protests that were uprised in California, remember? Many of those foundations were funded by many of the billionaires that the American people want to keep taxing. George Soros, and George Soros Jr. were many of the ones funding all the organizations for those anti kings, anti ice,
I would
and
need to see that.
um, I'm gonna try to bring it up. Yeah, I mean, you were talking about ICE having the greatest budget.
Yeah, they have the biggest budget, and I think that their training is far too short. We see trigger happy cops. We see lack of training. A lot of people were sent straight out into the field. They cut it down to 47 days of training. So you need more time to be a barber. You need more time to be a hair tech. You need more time to groom a Shih Tzu than you need to be out patrolling the streets with a gun and um, being involved in high stress scenarios. So I don't think that's something you can do efficiently. Um, if his plan was for mass deportations, you know what? Go for it. If he was taking only the rapists, the murderers, and the violent offenders, I can't be mad at that. But he's not doing that. He's constantly taking in American citizens. He's constantly violating the rights of immigrants because, yes, they still have rights, even though they're illegal, they're still people. I think that's one thing we forget. We hear the word illegal and we think,
Hmm.
ah, not a person. No, these are still human beings that hear, they feel, they shit, they piss, like they love, they hate, they feel sad, they feel mad. Yeah, they're the same amount of human as us. Um, and if we were doing targeted enforcement and actually going out to people, getting warrants signed, not an administrative warrant to try to fool people, but a judicial warrant, that's something else. If we weren't constantly putting guns in people's faces, if we weren't constantly pepper spraying American citizens, if we weren't constantly getting innocent bystanders involved, if we weren't
Hmm.
constantly making mistakes, which,
Innocent
yes,
bystanders is being innocent bystanders is not what Renee Goodman was. It's not what many people are doing,
that
right?
one family was that sent the baby to the hospital,
Hmm.
yeah, they were innocent. They were going home from a basketball game. A
Yeah.
baby
Hmm.
to the hospital. They performed CPR right there. Yeah.
I didn't hear about that
And
story.
Renee Good was still alive,
Hmm.
and they denied a physician who was on scene to care for her. And what happened after she crashed? They went, saw her, they walked away, and they tried to secure the scene. And then they took away all the evidence. And then
Hmm.
any evidence the FBI is not giving to Minnesota prosecutors because they know that they can charge Jonathan Good.
Hmm.
Yes, they can charge a federal official, but they're not. And we know from the video footage, you shot one through the window, two through the side. If you're shooting through the side, are you really at threat anymore? Is your life really at risk? If you're shooting from the side, is a car coming at you? By logical sense.
I think that the Renee Goodman situation is very controversial, right? There's a
Hmm.
lot of opinions on it, whether she was at fault or not. But if you look at the video, you can see that she was not being an innocent bystander. She was becoming involved, right?
Yeah.
Messing with federal officials, right?
Hmm.
ICE is a federal official. They have more leeway, especially under this administration. And she was not being an innocent bystander in the sense of she was not recording. She was not just witnessing there, right? An innocent bystander doesn't do anything other than stand, witness, and record.
She was letting the cars pass by. She waved one by,
And
and the other car passed by, but they didn't. They came out to try to detain her, and then she panicked like people do,
mhm,
and she drove off. And you're not even supposed to shoot into a fleeing car.
mhm,
That goes against DHS policy. That goes against actually all law enforcement policy.
mhm.
Um, if you're not supposed to shoot into a fleeing vehicle, anyone who's fleeing, even if it's coming right at you, you're supposed to get out the way, which she could have done.
Yeah. So the video I saw about it on Renee Goodman, I didn't listen to any of the TikTok
Yeah, yeah,
online stuff. I looked up a video. I could send it to you after.
yep.
And that's what I saw, and I agreed with the person who was giving their reaction. And I did pull up the from ChatGPT, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What George Soros is. You could read it. I don't want to misinterpret anything.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, you could take your own. I mean, yeah, you want to cut this out. And then I also put in how much money has he given to the foundations at the end.
Do you know how much money Elon Musk gave to?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I know how much money APAC has given to.
Oh my God! Fuck APAC.
Oh yeah.
Fuck APAC. I'll say that loud.
And whenever a government or I mean a governor goes against APAC, you know who who I want to be president? The one guy. He's very online.
James Fishback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like him.
I liked him up until
I don't know that much about him. I've just seen him recently. I don't know everything about him, but I
the
kind of
only
like
thing
him.
I didn't like was that he wanted to impose a sin tax
Oh,
on OnlyFans.
I saw that.
I didn't like that.
I don't mind it. If you're selling your body and you're making millions of dollars because you're selling your body, but you know who's at fault for that? Do you know who's at fault for that? Men. If men were held accountable and there was no demand for that, there would be no supply for that.
I would be okay with 50% after a certain cutoff point of, like, let's say 2 million. You guys take 2 million at the regular tax rate, and then 50% from up more. So let's say it's an additional 48 million. You're giving 50% away. That leaves them with 28.
You don't want it on
million.
the people who are making a couple $100.
No. So
I understand that.
Yeah.
You're fair on that.
And on top of that, if we're doing it to OnlyFans creators, which are, I'm still reading, my bad.
No, you're good. You're good. Keep going.
If we're doing it to OnlyFans creators, I think we should do it towards major corporations and every wealthy individual. I think we should also tax them. I don't think it would be fair to only tax one group of people who are making an absurd amount of money. I think we need to tax all people equally, not based off occupation.
So when people say, right, especially on the left side, right?
Yeah.
People say, let's tax the rich, tax the rich. I am opposed to taxing the rich because at the end of the day, when they raise the taxes, the ones who pay it is the middle class. When they raise the tax brackets,
not if we do it right.
There's no way we could do it right. If we do it right, we will have to pay more tax. So will the rich, but in turn, we will pay more because the rich will always have their accountants, their lawyers. They have more money to spend on fleeing taxes. Jeff Bezos that 1 year, I can't remember the year.
Then we closed the loopholes.
He didn't pay any taxes. Ending the loopholes. If you close the legal loopholes and everyone has to pay taxes legally, it's unconstitutional to pay taxes in the very first place.
Debatable.
What did the settlers in the very first, they said no tax and
no
they had the
without representation.
Exactly.
But at the same time, society's evolved. I just can't remember because it doesn't say they can't be taxed.
And I think that taxing us, we are not the highest taxed people in country, in how do I say it, in the world. Okay. There are countries, Denmark is one of the heavily taxed, right? Switzerland is almost 31% taxed on all incomes.
But you know how much benefits they get?
That's what I'm going at. Yeah. So I say lower the tax, right? Allow us to have more money, right? But use the money to actually benefit the people. Use the money towards programs that actually allow us to have babies for free, like Switzerland, right? Because the price of babies keeps going up.
Free childcare, like they just did in New York, which I'm so happy about. They have free childcare now.
I don't like New York. I don't. I mean, I'm not mad about the free New York healthcare, right? But
Childcare.
yeah, my bad. I
You're
butchered
good.
that.
You're good.
I don't like how do I say it? I don't like him. I don't like what is his name? I can't
Zohran
pronounce it.
Mamdani.
Zaram Mamdani. Yeah. Whenever so if you look back at Lebanon, I don't know if you know the country Lebanon.
Mhm.
In the 19 something, right? The 19 something, they were majority Christian population, right?
Mhm.
They had open borders. They were the ideal America, right? They
Mhm.
had a judicial system. They had civil rights. They had human rights before most of the other countries around them became and put up the infrastructure. I'm pretty sure you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They were the ideal America that we would want to live in, right?
Yeah.
They opened up their borders to the Muslim majority. The Muslim majority overtook them, and sooner rather than later, even though I'm not going to say it, all Muslims were radical and partook in jihad, right? Taking over the government and taking over the country. They they slowly overtook the country, and sooner rather than later it became Muslim majority and began persecuting Christians, and they had to flee their home country due to them having open borders at the root cause of it all. Was it all Muslims, right? Was every single Muslim what's it called, a bad person? No, right? No, not every single Muslim was partaking in jihad and going against Christians and tearing up homes and families, right?
Yeah.
Just like it's happening now in modern day with Nigeria, right? Over millions of people have died in Nigeria due to Muslim persecution. So I think that, right, he is Muslim, right? I'm not gonna stereotype him and say he's gonna partake in all this, right? But at his core, he is not aligned with the majority of America. And I get that he is in New York, right? He's just the mayor. He can't do much other than affect New York, but also him having power in saying that he's gonna tax the rich and have them pay for free parking passes and all this. It's unbelievable. It's not realistic. And for him to do it, he would have to what's it called? He would have to up the taxes. And not the senator, the governor of New York isn't going to do that. So I don't like that he says outlandish claims and unbold true statements.
But he's already done one of his promises,
What?
the free childcare.
Yeah, but he's not gonna give free parking passes to everyone. He's not gonna accomplish everything he wants to say.
I mean, it's been a month. Gotta give him some time.
Mm,
Trump hasn't done everything.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Most definitely. But I think that in a perspective, Trump and Zoran Mandami do the same thing, and they say wild, outlandish things, and don't how do you say it?
But one benefits people, the other benefits
Corporate America.
corporate America. And I don't believe in trickle down economics or Reaganomics. I think that it was stupid, and I hate a lot of the Reagan policies. Um, but I just don't see how one can be mad at a new way, a new possible an experiment. It's an experiment, New
Hmm.
York right now, to see if a democratic socialist mayor can effectively run one of the biggest cities in the world. And if he can implement these policies that benefit everyone
Hmm.
and make one of the most um, least affordable cities in America one of the most affordable.
Economical friendly. Yeah.
Yeah, like make it for the people.
Hmm.
And if he's able to do that, I think it really does set the page um, for a new wave of the
Socialists.
Democrat Party, because a lot of the Democrats right now, it's kind of they're getting outdated by their own generation. Because what Gen Z Democrats want, is more in tune with what millennial Democrats want, but it's not really what Gen X and Boomer um, Democrats want.
Hmm.
There's a lot of ties to it, and honestly, half the Republicans and Democrats are all the same. They're currently in the House.
Hmm.
That's why I hate using terms Democrat and Republican. I just like going based off what policies people believe in, because at the end of the day, I think Democrats and Republicans are the same. Just sometimes Democrats wave around the rainbow flag and the Republicans wave around the Confederate flag. But either way, they're sending money to the same people, and
You're not wrong about that.
yeah. So, and I think there's so much of just trying to pit the people against the people so they don't look up, especially with corporations and the government, but mainly
Most
corporations.
def.
I think corporations have more power to influence the people than they own the government. And I hate how powerful corporations have become. The tech boom didn't help because now they capitalized off that tech boom.
Yeah, taking away power from corporations is never gonna happen. I
But
could,
I think it should.
I think that I saw this one TikTok, right? Obviously TikTok, nothing's reliable, but it said the only way to take power back from the government is to stop paying taxes as a whole. If we as a country stop paying taxes, the government would immediately have to react. That's the only way. The only way to force the country into listening to the people.
But no one would be saying that if the government properly used its taxes to benefit the people.
Hmm.
The only reason we don't like taxes is because it feels like we're wasting money. If it doesn't feel like we're wasting money,
Hmm.
we won't care that we're paying taxes.
Hmm.
But I think it's the fact that we're not using the money to benefit us. We're
Sending the money abroad.
we're sending the money abroad. That's the biggest one. I mean, we bailed out Argentina, and there's countries out there with free healthcare, free tuition, all on the American taxpayer dollars. And actually, Florida was sending money out to one specific country too.
Mexico has free tuition. Mexico's sending loans to all their kids that, like me and you right now, ages 17 to I don't know what. Correct me on that. In Mexico, Claudia Scheinbaum is sending money to young aged Mexican kids. I was gonna say Mexican American Mexican kids, right? And and giving them money, giving them at least $500 a week.
Oh my god! Like,
So
there's so
so,
much we were
but
gonna
then
pay like the people of Greenland like $1,000 each to buy them out. Why
mhm,
can't we just use that money and invest it in America's future generation?
mhm.
And it annoys me so much.
But their country, the Mexico's economy is also going down.
Mhm.
So in turn, you could see that obviously, that money is being spent and it's going through circulating through the country, but their economy GDP is going down. So
Mhm.
the not every spending penny that goes to the people always benefits the economy.
But when I say to the people, I don't mean like checks like that. I mean services that we can use.
Hmm.
Right now, the number one thing that people are saying is the birth rates are going down. Um,
Less people are trying
Less
to
people are
people
trying
are
to
having
have
kids
kids
later.
because it's unaffordable. Because
So
there
so
is no
one
benefit.
question, one
Yeah.
question. What would your ideal America be? Like policy and everything.
Right now, I think we need to see an increase, a remodeling of our education system. I think that's where it really starts off.
Most definitely.
I think we need AI implementation into the learning space because I think it is an important tool. I just don't think our schools are. I think our schools are dated, um, for the time we're in.
Mhm.
I think we need to be able to have free childcare institutions in order to ensure that America's next parents are able to still go to work and have a job. Because let's be real, no matter how far we want the American dream, one income households to raise a family of five won't work anymore, no matter how far we go. I think we need to re-strengthen our foreign um, allies and kind of get back on the right page.
So
Um,
would you be opposed to America leaving the UN? I think that we're pouring
yes,
too much money into it,
I
and
think we should take money out, but I don't think we should leave.
I think we should as a whole stop sending money to Europe because we pay for all their military expenses almost.
Yeah, I would be totally okay with.
I say we leave Europe as a whole, right? and the UN and let them handle Russia, even though they are more than capable to handle themselves against Russia if they up their spending in their military, but they don't.
We should be proportional as much as we're paying, um, to how as much as they're paying. So if
Hmm.
they're paying 20% of, let's say, their GDP, which I don't know how they actually work out those numbers.
Me
Let's say
neither.
20 per I would just go based off GDP. 20% of their GDP, and then America should spend 20% of its GDP. We shouldn't be spending like 30 or 40 or
So you're
50.
saying if they spend 20% of their GDP, we match that and give them the exact amount of money.
We should support our allies, but we shouldn't.
And in turn of us sending them money, what would they give to us? Because at the end of the day, it has to be a deal,
Yeah.
transactional.
We need that. That's one thing. Foreign policy is one thing I'm very, um.
Hey, free Louis Vuitton bags with Italy.
You need to give everyone in America a free Louis bag. No, you just go to China shop. You can get all the Louis you want for $5. Um,
But it's fake.
same factory.
Hey, bro, my mom asked me for some. I don't know what sandals. I might have to give it to her for Mother's Day, bro. But it's like $1,000. So we'll see. We're gonna use this. What are you gonna use Afterpay?
But yeah, no, foreign policy is one thing I'm not really good on. Obviously, there's benefits with taking care of our allies, and it's also securing Western ideologies.
Hmm.
The biggest thing is the enemy was always communism. Communism, that shit's gone now in most places.
It doesn't really exist. A true communist country does not exist.
No, um, but I really think that we should really reinvest into ourselves and take a lot of the money that we're spending on other countries. Um, that's what I truly believe America first would be. And I think that's more my conservative view. Is I really don't think that we should be doing that.
Hmm.
And again, that goes into a whole other list of factors that would happen and impact it. But I think that would be the best way to do it in order to benefit Americans. And I think we should honestly publicize health instead of it being the private sector. I think it should be a public sector.
Yeah, but with that, that's what they in the first place it was privatized so that it could be run more efficient because when it was public, it was not getting the job done. So when they did privatize it, it was meant so that obviously when you privatize it, they want to maximize profits and minimize loss. So in turn, some patients will not qualify for it, right? But when it was public, it was horrible. It was worse than what it was now. So I think that we should find a middle ground for healthcare. I think that
Mm,
we should put more how do you say it, regulations and incentives for companies, but at the in turn they are not getting enough money and they're cutting their losses with people. People are waiting longer on phones, right?
mhm.
On call. So I think that the private sector gets it done quicker, but at the cost of the people. So I think that
Yeah,
some
Americans pay so much more compared to other countries.
you're not wrong.
I think it's unfair considering we're supposed to be the best country. Like, I'm scared to ever get a ride in an ambulance if I'm gonna be paying that bill off the rest of my life.
Hmm.
Like, if I'm dying and bleeding out, I'm hopping in my car and driving. I am not waiting for an ambulance and a $2,000 trip. Like, it's most Americans are like one paycheck away from slipping into poverty or becoming homeless, and I just don't think that's how the American
Yeah, that's another thing.
life is. I think our wealth distribution is horrendous. The French have revolted against less. Um, so I think we're at a decline, and I think it's going to take a lot of reform and a lot new policies and a
Hmm.
lot new politicians, specifically younger politicians, because these old heads ain't getting it done. Um, and I think we can still come back from everything.
No, most definitely, but it's gonna be a lot of work, and I don't know if our generation is gonna fix it.
I think we can. I think we're actually pretty good as a generation.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, our generation, if you're looking at a global scale,
Our
we've
generation
we have been
individually.
we have been toppling countries that we don't like within,
Hmm.
because we're so connected on the internet and we're connected with the people that aren't just in our little neighborhood. We're connected with worldwide.
I think as a mindset, I think most of the people in our generation are pretty weak mindsetly.
I disagree. I think people are more aware than ever. I think people are more also stressed and anxious than ever.
Hmm.
Because, like, think about it, if you were just a Roman guy, all you knew is, "That's the bad guy." You didn't have to go on social media and be like, "Oh, wait, are we the bad guys?"
Hmm.
Because there was no thinking for that. You were surrounded by like-minded people. Now, our minds are just challenged because 'cause we're pushed in
But
every which
the
direction.
counter was that everything you see online is if you're Republican, a lot of the stuff you're gonna get
It's
is
all from Republicans.
pro-Republican. A
Mhm.
lot of this, if you're pro-left, a lot of the stuff you're gonna get is
Pro-left.
pro-left.
Mhm.
So I think that in that sense, you're not being challenged. I think that being challenged is like what Charlie Kirk would used to say, right? Quote,
Mhm.
you have to talk about a lot of the problems that are going on, and when those conversations stop, people start dying.
Mhm.
I think that quote resonates with me.
Yeah. It's, these conversations are ones that needed to be had,
Hmm.
and I think you and me, like, although our political, oh my god. Although we have difference in political views, I think we still wanna see this, country
Hmm.
shine.
Yeah,
I just
most
think
definitely.
it's just a matter of how do we get there that we disagree on, but I think we both,
Have the
um,
same goal.
got the same goal,
Hmm.
which I think a lot of people have. I hope a lot of people have, but it's 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 crazy, man.
Yeah, you're
It's
not
cra
wrong.
it's fucking wild. Um, well, I think it's time to start wrapping up here.
No, you're good.
It's been 2 hours.
Wow.
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 Wow. Alright. Is there anything you wanna leave the people with?
Oh,
Any comments, concerns, anything?
no, I think we said a lot. We said a
Is
lot.
there anything you just want, like, just anything to leave them with, to remind them of you? Because I know, or maybe your beliefs or anything?
No, I'd say read the Bible if you haven't. It explains a lot of what the world's going on right now. Even we didn't touch this, but even the book of Ezekiel says explains a lot of the stuff that's happening in the Middle East. If you want more coverage on that, but I think that this world is crazy. It's gonna get a lot more crazier, and you might need God to figure it all out. And don't attack people just because of their beliefs, right? Have conversations like, for example, me and Julian. And yeah, take care. God bless and have a good one.
Thank you for coming on, man.